Welcome to the Shift podcast, where midlife, medicine, and mindset meet. We're breaking the silence around women's health and simplifying the path to feeling strong, clear, and better than ever. Hosted by me, Heidi Swap, with insights from Dr. Vohn Watts and stories from real women, the Shift podcast is here to challenge the narrative, empower you with information, and create a new vision for your next chapter. Welcome back to the Shift podcast. I am Heidi Swap, and me and Dr. Watts, we are back with a functional doctor. Dr. Lisa Palmer is joining us. She's joining us virtually. So we're looking really cute with the headphones and loving it. And as always, you guys, I get on here and I get a little shell-shocked because I'm learning so much and it makes me so excited. And Dr. Watts just sits here and he's like, yeah. I told you. I remember I told you about this. And I have to be told something 27 times.
See, I bring all my friends on here so that way I can just back up what I've been telling her for so long. See, I'm not crazy. No, I'm just kidding.
My gosh. It's just really interesting for me to learn this and then to kind of like start putting the pieces of the puzzle together is what's kind of happening for me. Anyway, Dr. Palmer, tell us about you. Tell us where you're from. Tell us what your life is like, if you have kids or
how you got into functional medicine, and so all of the things.
Just tell us about you.
All of the things. Well, thank you, Heidi, for having me on your podcast and your show. And thank you, Dr. Watts, for being on there as well. Yeah, I'm a Florida girl, born and raised Florida girl. Currently living in Central Florida, where I've been in private natural health care practice for 20 years.
Okay, wow.
I started when I was 3.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jesus, she looks so young.
And she has, she does have a husband who is a good friend of mine as well, and he is he's kind of a big deal himself in the natural health world. So
okay,
sorry, but I'll let you go ahead.
So you're a double threat.
They are, yeah.
Yes, Dr. Jason Dean practices with me. It's his second career. He was in sports marketing and then started to see all the cool natural health care miracles with nutrition and functional medicine and chiropractic. And as a second career, went back to school and became a doctor of chiropractic and definitely is on a mission along with myself to spread the truth about natural health care and help people like your viewers that are suffering with PMS, menopause, migraines, headaches, eczema, whatever, and solving all of that naturally.
So those aren't just real quick here. Those aren't that's just not part of aging, because these women go to doctors and they tell them, oh, how old are you? Oh, that's part of aging. That's just, that's normal.
Yeah. I mean, so many of my female patients and male patients are told it's just part of getting old. It's because you're in the phase of life now. And all of those reasons are not true. It's not all in your head. It's not because you had a birthday. It's not because of those things. Everything has a cause and can be handled and rebalanced naturally.
Which I love that hope.
Yeah.
Because I think that.
And then we have a daughter who just turned 12.
Okay.
So she's a level 3 gymnast, is very artsy and craftsy, loves to draw, work with colored pencils and markers and make bracelets and all that.
You should have her. You should have her follow Heidi Swap, her craft Instagram. She's got a lot of really cool stuff on there.
A lot of pens, a lot of colored pencils. I love scrapbooking. I've been a scrapbooker and stamping and a lot of stamps.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah. So then we have a furry kid. His name is Rio. He was adopted from Puerto Rico. He is a mixed breed and he steals supplements. He knows what he needs. Animals know what they need. And so he'll put his little brown paws on the counter and go like this and swipe one of my husband's supplements and chew off the lid and eat what he needs and carry on. Because, we were
what they're doing?
Born with an innate ability to know what we need. It's just we were told that we have to see the person in the white jacket and they have to tell us what we need or they have to medicate us with a whole bunch of side effects. And so I got into this world. Chiropractic is the reason I can walk. I was born with internally rotated. My feet were internally rotated, and the surgeon didn't think I'd be able to walk at all. And through chiropractic, was able to not only take my feet from rotated like this to straight, walking, running, and played professional sports. And then early on in my career,
Wait. Did you just skim over that? Did she say she played professional sports?
Well, and you didn't have to
skim over that.
You didn't have to have any surgery for your internal rotation. That it was like, you can do that through chiropractic. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's talk about that. What they did. What did they do?
Little chiropractic adjustments on my hips and straighten out my feet.
For how long?
Was able to.
How long did that? Take
all those things. What was that?
I said, how long did that take for those little shifts?
I don't know really. And the reason why I don't know is because I've had chiropractic care my whole entire life. And so I had a pediatrician. I didn't even know the difference as a kid. I had the pediatrician that would try to prick my finger and stick things in my arm and make me sit on that crackly paper in my underwear. And I didn't like going there. And then I had the other chiropractor that would use these triangular wedges and place them underneath my hips and make little inserts for my shoes and do chiropractic adjustments. And I liked to see her. And it wasn't really until chiropractic school that I realized what type of doctor of chiropractic Dr. Vicky was. Because in chiropractic, not all chiropractors are the same. We do different types of techniques.
Just rather than that. That's fascinating.
Which sounds like an SOT doc.
That's right, Dr. Watts.
Yeah, and I was blessed to study SOT under so I did SOT. That was one of the many things in my practice. But the doc I learned under at Cleveland Chiropractic College, he treated what's his name? What's the founder of SOT? I can't remember.
Major Desjardins.
Yep, Major Desjardins. He personally treated Major Desjardins for the last 20 years of his life. And so every time he would go over to treat him, he said he had this massive library. And he would, as payment, he would say, pick a book.
Oh. Wow.
And so he learned and studied under Major Desjardins and treated Dr. Major Desjardins for the last 20 years of his life.
The founder of sacrooccipital
technique. And it's a phenomenal technique.
That's learned under his doc is amazing.
It was. And I tell you what, it blessed the lives of so many people with sciatica. I treated thousands of people with sciatica, people coming with 9 out of 10 pain, and they'd walk out of my office in one treatment with no pain at all.
That's crazy.
It is. And it's amazing. But let's get back to the part where you would just kind of skimmed over the fact that you played professional sports. I've known Dr. Lisa for a while, but I did not know this. So I'm curious about this. Explain.
Yeah, tell us.
Well, guess. What sport was it?
Was it soccer?
Well, I played soccer for 30 years.
I say you look like
very good guess.
Yeah.
However, my teammates, when I was playing in Georgia, we were really good. And anybody who ever said winning isn't everything, I don't know what they're talking about because losing really is not fun.
Was it rugby?
My team in Atlanta was very good. And we heard about another professional team that was starting. And my soccer teammates convinced me to try out, even though I thought they were crazy. And I made it through first cuts, and I made it through second cuts, and I made it through third cuts, and ended up on this team.
Was it a rugby team? It wasn't.
Any guess?
It wasn't rugby?
No.
Because that's a big crossover for girls soccer.
Was insane, but it's very similar to rugby.
Lacrosse, maybe?
Or lacrosse?
Very, very, very close to rugby. The American version.
Football? Was it really? Oh my goodness.
I played American women's professional football.
Oh, wow.
So she's smart and tough.
Wow. And she still has her brain. So that's something.
That is wild. Okay. So let's continue on. So, so how did you get, that is awesome. I can't wait to tell. So we ran in a lot of the same circles there's a bunch of these amazing doctors throughout the United States. So trust me, this is going to be a story I'm going to be telling. But how did you? Everybody has their story of how they got into functional medicine, whether you're a chiropractor, a medical doctor, osteopath, doctor of Chinese medicine. Every single functional medicine doctor I've met, and I've met doctors of every type they all have a story of why they started where they were and then shifted into functional medicine. So I'm assuming you have a story.
Absolutely. Well, my story is I started very much in sports chiropractic. My undergraduate degree is in sports medicine. I worked with Division I football. I was one of the first female athletic trainers allowed in the male training room, which makes me sound ancient. But I remember the first day I walked in, the head football coach was walking down the hallway and I didn't even know who he was. And he was like, "How you doing, honey?" And I was like, "Hello, sir." And then later I realized that was Coach Steve Spurrier. So those of you
Oh my gosh,
big University of Florida football fans, he was a pretty famous Division I football coach. And so started in that realm, and then in chiropractic, specialized in sports chiropractic. So worked with international rugby players from South Africa, soccer players from Costa Rica and Colombia, professional women's soccer, professional men's soccer, college ice hockey. So worked a lot of different sports for 30 years. But towards the end of being on sidelines in the heat, in the rain, burning the candle at both ends, being not only a doctor, but Dr. Watts and also Heidi being an entrepreneur, sometimes you burn the candle at both ends, right? You got to make everything go right. It's not like we just work in a hospital and patients show up. When you're in natural health care, you have to do the marketing and you have to be the entrepreneur and you have to run the systems.
And the business. Yeah. It's a grind.
It could be a grind. And so, unfortunately, the grind, I had the athlete mentality of you just keep pushing forward. You just keep working and you keep pushing and you leave it all on the field.
The harder you work.
And, yeah. What was that?
I just pointed at her because it's that type A entrepreneur, go-getter personality. And Heidi's talking, as you're talking about it, I'm just pointing at Heidi because I'm pointing at myself too.
You pointing at her. I was like, what's happening?
But because that's the same thing. Like she's a grinder. And
we're grinding too.
I'm bad at stopping. I'm still grinding.
We're shifting though. We're shifting.
I understand. Yeah, and then earlier in my career, I didn't have a lot of patience, so I had to work other jobs. I worked at a restaurant. Actually worked at Cracker Barrel and wore the little brown apron, and people treated me like I was dumb because I worked at Cracker Barrel. And then I would take off the brown apron and wear doctor clothes and then see patients. And then I would also, worked at a gym. So I would work at the gym, close the gym. And then some mornings I would open the gym, then see patients, then close Cracker Barrel. And I did that for a little bit. And then when I was successful enough not to need the other jobs, I would see patients and then go on the soccer field and work with the soccer athletes in the evenings, and then travel all weekend with the teams to wherever they were playing. And so just worked a lot. My mentality was the harder you work, the more successful you are. But unfortunately, I also thought it didn't matter what I ate and it didn't matter how much I slept. If I looked good on the outside as an athlete, then I was healthy. And
you were probably super proud of yourself for being able to get by on so little sleep.
Yeah, I was like, I could, wake up in the morning and have coffee and then have a Red Bull and then have more coffee or sweet tea or whatever. And it didn't matter because I was still training. I couldn't just do that. I also had to still train. I was still playing soccer. And I would just, whatever I ate, I would just burn it off on the field. And because I physically were fit, I figured fitness, six-pack abs and fitness turned into health. And that was very, very incorrect. What ended up happening was I started gaining weight, which was crazy because I was a strength coach and majored in sports medicine. And I thought, well, I'll just exercise harder, right? I'll just have another morning workout, or I'll just hire a personal trainer, even though I know how to work out. I'll hire a personal trainer and he can make me work out harder. And I just kept gaining weight. And, first it was 10 pounds, then it was 20 pounds, then it was 30 pounds. And I was still playing soccer. I was still running 90 minutes straight with a halftime. Excuse me. And my hair started falling out. I'd take a shower. There'd be like this hair creature in the drain. And then it culminated with getting super, super dizzy. So I would try to go to sleep and the whole room was spinning, kind of like if you drink too much alcohol, but alcohol wasn't involved.
Wow.
And so after multiple days of feeling really, really dizzy, at this point, I was in bed and could not get out of bed except to use the restroom. I told my husband, I said, look, like something's really, really wrong with me. I am so dizzy. I couldn't function at that point. I grew up, my mother was a registered nurse. My father was a hospital executive. I did not like hospitals. I hated any time I'd have to go to the hospital to visit them at work. I hated the smell of hospitals. I didn't like the look of hospitals. Definitely didn't want to have blood drawn. And so when I asked my husband to take me to an emergency room, he's like, you're really sick. And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm dying. Like I felt horrible. He took me to an urgent care. They ran some blood work. They looked at me. They did some tests. And guess what they found?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I was afraid that was going to come.
Your
blood looks great.
It is, because it's like, this is the prototypical patient, functional medicine patient. They go in, they run labs, and by run labs, they run one page of lab work, which basically checks for nothing.
Did you have a CAT scan? And
they found nothing.
All those.
And then being a doctor, I know what he's doing, right? And so at this point, I'm sitting in the urgent care.
This is how long ago, by the way?
I have to lay down.
How long ago are we talking about this?
This was 2000, let's see. I would say 2010-ish.
Okay.
So what, 15 years ago?
Okay.
Yeah. And then, of course, health is not linear, right? Like, you get better, then things happen. We just had a tornado hit our house this year and had to handle mold and had mold poisoning and all that fun stuff.
Wait, in Florida, a tornado? I thought you get hurricanes. You get tornadoes too?
Oh my gosh.
My husband's actually on Fox 35. The tornado hit the house. I was at work. Tornado hit the house, grabbed our trampoline, threw it out over, we have an acre in the back, an acre over the fence, across the street, into the front yard. Sorry, I have a tickle in my throat.
It's okay.
I thought you only had one natural disaster to worry about.
The insurance company denied it.
The insurance company denied it.
Yeah, they said that tornado never hit us. Guys, I'm going to have to get some water.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Isn't that wild? See, I'm like, I remember when I moved to Kansas City, and I grew up in San Diego, so I'm used to earthquakes. Right? I mean, just a normal thing. You wake up, go to school, and like, oh, did you feel the earthquake last night? But being in such Southern California, we usually felt little rumblings, or you're in the shower and like the walls are moving. No big deal. It would never really bother me. I'll take earthquake all day long. Then I moved to Kansas City, and we lived there for 13 years. And they have tornadoes. And I'm like, I was in chiropractic school at the time when that tornado came through Joplin, Missouri. And it was literally like a quarter mile wide, and it looked like a lawnmower just came right through the middle of the city. Like there was a straight line, like literally like a huge lawnmower just mowed it down. And unfortunately, I mean, there were a handful of people that died from that, but it was really bad. And I remember talking to somebody over there going, man, I'll take these earthquakes all day long, but man, these tornadoes kind of freak me out. And they said, oh, we don't just have tornadoes here. I'm like, what? He's like, oh yeah, we also get flooding here a lot. And also we're on a huge fault line. I'm like, oh my gosh, Kansas City has all of them. So sorry, we were just talking about natural disasters. I had no idea Florida also got tornadoes. I thought it was just.
Well, Florida, you have hurricanes and then tornadoes spin off hurricanes, but this was a rogue, whatever the second or third level tornado you can get.
Wow. And
the whole house shook. Jason, we don't have basements in Florida. Jason ran into the master bedroom closet, tried to get our dog into the closet, but the chandelier in the front of our house kept hitting the window. So he thought somebody was in the front door. And the whole house shook. Trampoline flew through the air across the street. Fence blew down, all this crazy stuff. And then, of course, we had leaking from the rain, ripped off part of our roof.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. Sorry. So anyway, back to the emergency room, and you.
So emergency room. The doctor was like, "Hey, I can't find anything wrong with you. I see you don't feel good. It must be all in your head."
Oh.
That's the best. That's the best feeling when you come out of a doctor's office and they make you feel crazy, and you're not crazy.
Really said that. It's all in your head.
And I said, "Doctor, I'm a doctor. So doctor to doctor, just because you can't find out what's wrong with me does not mean it's all in my head." And then he prescribed me an anti-dizziness medication and sent me on my way. So that's when, I already knew the medical system was broken, but then you really lose hope, and then you start to feel like you're crazy. And I realized I could not just be in bed all day. I was, like I said before, I was a professional athlete running a busy practice, and I couldn't imagine living a life just laying in bed having the room spin over and over and over again. And so I said a little prayer, and I said, God, if this is what my life's going to be like, and this was very dramatic. I don't know why I picked this, but it just made sense at the time. I said, if this is what life's going to be like, I don't want to live like this. And it wasn't that I was suicidal. It was just, I couldn't imagine being stuck in bed for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so I said, if this is what life's going to be like, just take me out. And I don't know why I picked lightning. Like, just shoot down some lightning, please. And,
Make it quick.
Later I thought of like, well, that would be really traumatic for my family. I'd be like singed in the bed and the bed might be on fire and, and lucky the message I got
you were upset. You were upset. You were ticked.
Which, and you can tell there's also a sense of like feeling a little bit of helplessness in there too. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, for me to even get a prescription, I didn't even know if my insurance policy covered prescriptions. They're like, do you have, medication? Because the last time I had taken medication was when I was 16 years old and they pulled out 8 baby teeth and the dentist put me on an antibiotic. And so, I was embarrassed as a chiropractor, as a natural healthcare doctor to take a prescription, to fill a prescription. And I took like 2 pills. It didn't do anything. And I was like, I didn't know what else to do. And so luckily, obviously, I didn't get hit by lightning. But the message I got back is to tell my patients the truth about healthcare. As a sports chiropractor, I was very much into working with professional athletes. And if this is going to sound really bad, but if someone wasn't a professional athlete and they came in and they were a mom or a dad or whatever, and maybe they had high blood pressure or diabetes or they were overweight, at that time, my viewpoint was that they were a waste of my time because everything in my career was up to that point for working with professional athletes. So that viewpoint changed. I actually got better. I found an ad in a chiropractic newspaper that was talking about holistic nutrition, was talking about muscle testing, was talking about functional medicine. And coincidentally, that seminar was being offered that next weekend. I attended it and started to learn holistic nutrition. Started to learn that you could have mold poisoning, or you could have heavy metal poisoning, or you could have parasites, or all these different things. And as a benefit of attending the seminar, the doctor who was teaching, she tested me.
A blood test, like a blood test.
No, she muscle tested me.
She muscle tested.
And she checked different Chinese medicine points on my head, on the side of my head, on my body, and found out that the gland in my brain called the pituitary gland, which is the master gland, controls many functions in the body, was compromised. The medical treatment for that, do you guys know what that could be? Dr. Watts probably knows.
It's not good.
Yeah. The medical treatment is if your pituitary gland or your thyroid gland is not working properly, they just cut it out.
They cut out the pituitary gland?
Yeah, well, you have. And
they stick, I don't know if you want to know this. They stick stuff up your nose and then they remove it that way.
It's insane. It's almost like when you think about it, it almost sounds
very invasive.
It almost sounds medieval. So it's funny that you were saying some of these things because we in the last podcast we had, I said no such thing as coincidences, right? Isn't that a coincidence that that seminar was happening the following week? Right. And also it seems to be a theme. So one thing I've tried to teach, at least this group that listen to the podcast, the people that listen to this, is my beliefs, is my philosophy, which is the human body is a self-healing organism and all disease is caused by one thing, and that's organ dysfunction. And organ dysfunction is caused by one of 3 things: nutritional deficiencies, toxins, or a combination of both. And not only you, but the last doctor we had on was also talking about some of her health things and how hers was more related to heavy metal toxicity and in like different Lyme infections. But here we are again, toxins, unexplained. So one thing I would say is if you are dealing with some kind of weird symptom and you've gone to your doctor and they can't find out what's wrong with it, I will bet dollars to donuts that it is some kind of toxin that you're dealing with, because they don't test for toxins, unfortunately. Not yet. Hopefully, as this functional medicine world moves along, and mind you, a lot of people think that, functional medicine, that's just a bunch of natural docs. No, actually, I'll just be candid. You have chiropractors, you have naturopaths, you have doctor of osteopaths, DOs, you have medical doctors. And realistically, you actually have more medical doctors that are functional medicine than any other kind of doctor, actually. But most people commonly think it's just a bunch of chiropractors. It's like, no, actually, there's more medical doctors. And really what it is it's not natural medicine per se. That the philosophy of functional medicine is root cause. I don't care what your symptom is. That's just one small piece. So instead of symptom drug, It's symptom. Okay, that's a piece of the puzzle. Let's find out what's causing the symptom and get to the root cause. And then we'll treat the root cause. And then we won't worry about the symptoms, because when we treat the root cause, the symptoms will go away. So many medical doctors have left typical Western medicine practice to get into functional medicine, because they're tired of like not having the results with just symptom, drug, which then leads to another drug and then another drug and then another drug. Next thing you know, your patient's on 5 drugs and they're not getting better. They're just if at best they're staying level. And so they've moved into, we've all as doctors, regardless of what kind of doctor you are, you got into this to help people. And so more and more getting into functional medicine. And there's so many different ways that people treat. So the way Dr. Lisa, she's in a totally different realm. So if you want, let's continue on here and talk about how they found this. And then obviously they do muscle testing. So there's probably people going, muscle testing, what's that? And
yes, I have had muscle testing.
We are getting back into the woo-woo space.
I have had some muscle testing, so I do understand it. But why don't you describe it?
Yeah. I went to the doc and they ran all the standard blood tests and couldn't find anything wrong with me. And so then they just think you're crazy, right? And the cool thing with muscle testing is just like you can put electrodes on a chest to see how the heart is functioning, you're not putting those electrodes directly on the heart. You're putting it on the chest wall to see electrically what is going on with the heart's function. I can use a muscle test to see what areas of the body are working optimally and which areas of the body are not working optimally. And when they're not working optimally, the arm goes down. It's like creating a circuit. And they even have those toys, I don't know if you've ever seen, where you can hold on to the different electrodes and you guys can like make a circle and everybody can hold hands. And the electrical component goes through the body. And when the circle is completed, holding each other's hand, the device, the toy will make a noise. And so when you're touching different parts of a patient's body, you're creating a circuit. And if that's doing well, the arm stays up or strong. And if it's not doing well, the arm tends to go down. And then we take it a step further and we look for what is the why. Is it due to something with food? Is it due something with chemicals or metals or radiation? Or what is the case?
So
is it parasites?
So she was touching you in certain places that are on that map.
So she tested a point on the side of my brain that correlates with the pituitary gland.
Okay. And so she's touching you here.
Testing a step. Yeah.
And pressing on your arm. Your arm went down and she's like, okay, something's happening here. Okay.
Right. And then she took it a step further and determined what the cause was. And in my case, Dr. Watts was absolutely right. It was a heavy metal toxicity, and it could be narrowed down even more. And in my case, it was due to mercury. I remember a time as a kid, I was riding my bicycle and trying to race the neighborhood, one of my friends. And he would always beat me and I got tired of losing. And so I turned my tire sharply to turn early and I totally crashed my bike and totally scraped up the side of my face. I don't remember walking home. I don't know how my bike got home. I don't know how I got home. Completely amnesia. The next thing I remember is sitting on the couch in my living room and my mother taking this little bottle with this red stuff in it and putting it on my face, and it stung so bad. Do you guys know what the little red bottle was?
Yeah, didn't we used to call that tiger's blood or something like that? There was we used to call that whenever somebody this is back in the 80s, you get hurt, they'd put that red stuff on it.
It was like iodine?
Do you know what it's made out of?
I don't. I just remember we called it tiger's blood.
Iodine would be a great guess, Heidi. It wasn't iodine. That would be a safe thing to put on my face.
Yeah.
It was mercurochrome.
Oh my goodness.
Mercurochrome is liquid mercury as an anesthetic. And so that was being placed on my face. And so the temples are close to, because the pituitary is in the center of the brain, the body will absorb that stuff. And so I don't have silver fillings. Some people can get mercury from silver fillings. I don't have any. You can get mercury from injections. I had some. You can get mercury from our water supply. But definitely if someone put mercury on your face, your body will absorb that. And unfortunately, the mercury went into my pituitary gland. And that's why I was dizzy. And that's why my hair was falling out. And that's why I was gaining weight, even though I was working out and still playing soccer.
Because what is your pituitary control?
Oh, so the big one, okay, so let me jump in here because this is my spot here. So the thyroid, right? The anterior portion of the pituitary is what sends thyroid stimulating hormone to tell the thyroid to create stuff, which controls weight, hair loss, anxiety, all these things that like all the symptoms she's describing is also really would point, like immediately would first point you to what's wrong, what's going on with the thyroid. And then you'd go up the chain to see, is it the pituitary or is it even up further in the chain in the brain, the hypothalamus, which affects the pituitary, which then affects so it affects your entire, like your endocrine system, like your metabolism. So if you have a mess up,
if you remove the pituitary, like you were saying,
your thyroid's screwed. You're I'll just say you're screwed from a lot of things.
Everything is going to be imbalanced. It's kind of like if you have a problem with your car and you take your car to the mechanic and the mechanic's like, yeah, your brakes are bad, Heidi. We're just going to take your brakes away.
The car still runs.
So you would think that's the worst mechanic ever. But that's what they do in traditional medicine all the time. Oh, you have a problem with your gallbladder? It's fine. We'll just cut it out. Or you lost your gallbladder. You have a problem with your appendix? We'll just cut it out. You got a problem with your thyroid? We'll just take half of it out. You got a problem with your pituitary? Let's just cut that out.
But they told me I didn't need it.
That's what they always say. Oh, you have spleen. We'll take your spleen out. You don't need it. We don't even know what it does. We don't even know what the spleen does. We'll just take it out. Okay. I can promise you this. Okay. I can promise you this, regardless of what your religious belief system is. God, creator, whatever. The human body was created as a whole complete system. So every organ in the body, it does not operate on its own. It's also affected by other organs. So like the pituitary is affected by the hypothalamus, and then the thyroid is affected by the pituitary, and then the thyroid is also affected by the liver and the gut. And so it works in harmony.
They like to remove.
Yeah, it works in harmony. All these organs work in harmony. So when you remove one, you're going to cause dysregulation, and there will be maybe not an immediate, because I have a lot of people that have gallbladder removed, which is when I tell them then you need to be on TUDCA for the rest of your life if you want to be in good shape, because it may not affect you now, but it eventually will, because all of these organs work in concert and work together as one big symphony. And as soon as you remove one, now you're missing the violin. Or you're missing the oboe.
There's no way to have optimal health when you're missing some of your parts. The cool thing is the body's super adaptive, and there's things that we can do naturally to help to rebalance it. But yeah, it's operating at a deficit.
So at that conference, when she's doing the muscle testing, that's kind of when you come to this conclusion that you have had mercury exposure.
Well, I was so tired, guys, at this conference. I don't even know how I got there. I was so tired that when I went up on stage in front of this conference and she asked me what was wrong with me, I didn't say my hair was falling out or I had skip periods where I'd have a period, skip 3 months, have a period, skip 6 months. I didn't tell her I was gaining weight, although she probably could tell. I didn't tell her any of that stuff. All I told her was I was tired. And then when she found the pituitary, she's like, well, do you have irregular periods? And what about this? And what about this? And then the thing that she said that really got me to switch gears, because I totally left the sports world. I totally left professional sports. And as hard as I was studying in professional sports and working with professional athletes, completely switched gears to the holistic nutrition, functional medicine, muscle testing world. And the thing that she told me was, with what I'm finding, I was newly married. She says, with what I'm finding, do you want to be a mom someday? And it was the exact necessary line she needed to ask me for me to make a change. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, well, that's not going to happen when your pituitary is not working properly. And she didn't know that I'd have a period and skip 3 months with no period. Mm-hmm. And have a period and skip 6 months with no period. And because I was an athlete, they just said, oh, it's because you run a lot.
Work out so much.
My medical doctor just wanted to put me on birth control.
And explain the pituitary, because I left that part out about it doesn't just control thyroid hormones. What other hormones does it control?
Yeah, the pituitary is your master gland. So its function is many different things in the whole entire body. So of course it's going to affect your energy, your weight loss, your weight gain, your menstrual cycles, your
like all your sex your hormones, energy, right? Sex hormones,
your sex hormones, like all of the pieces of fertility. And so that was the necessary conversation. And that's what we do with our patients at my office is we have those necessary conversations on, okay, this is where you're at. These are the symptoms you have. And with these symptoms, it's almost like that check engine light going off in your car saying something's wrong. We don't cover up that light. We look and see why. And then instead of cutting it out or medicating it, then we balance it out with whole food nutrition, carbon technology, cool things like Aegis formulas to help rebalance the body. So now the
You
body
planned
can
this.
function
I didn't. I
optimally.
just
You paid for that product placement.
I didn't. There's just a lot of docs using the products now because when they work, they work. You know, so
They work?
They do. They've had yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was just teaching a homeschool class, and I had a whole bunch of moms. We were handing these out. So instead of them drinking alcohol, or instead of them, I don't know, smoking stuff, they can just have some Calm AF.
That one's clear.
And decrease their stress levels until they can function again.
I think you're holding up clear. That's the immune
am I?
system one.
Oh, clear, Calm. I have Calm over here too.
Oh, hang on, while you're doing that, just because you're soccer, I told them this story yesterday. This was actually kind of funny. My sister is talking to my wife on the phone. They were down in Las Vegas this last weekend for a soccer tournament. My nephew's 10 and he plays pretty high level soccer. One of the smallest kids on the team, but he's just like a little white Messi out there, like this little American Messi boy. He's just quick, you know, and he's really good. Well, he's also high energy. So my sister gives him those calm strips. It just kind of helps calm. And so he takes it before every game, right? So at the end of the game, the coach reaches out to my sister and goes, hey, as some parents kind of like concerned, like we can't be giving supplements out to the kids without parents knowing. My sister's like, wait, what? It's like, well, apparently this little 10-year-old was handing out these calm strips to all the kids on his team before the game.
These were good.
And so the next, my sister goes on like the Discord app, the team app to say, hey, I apologize. You know, he's just 10, you know, he's at but these are all natural. It's everything's fine. If you want to know more about it, you can come get me, but I'll make sure that he's not just handing them out to the team anymore. And then the goalie's mom reaches out and goes, well, my son didn't get one, but he really wanted one. I just thought it was funny. This little kid is like handing them out to the whole team. It was pretty funny, but yeah,
And
they
so
take
you
it.
were giving,
I love that.
you were giving the Calm.
Some athletes that they're giving them a whole bunch of, they're giving them other stuff. You know, there's some moms handing out some major medication to athletes.
Yeah. So anyways, you're teaching that in homeschool.
Yeah. So I was teaching actually on parasites to everyone from, I think our youngest student today was 5 years old to 13. And I was teaching them on what parasites do to the body. And then we made these noodles. We made sweet potato noodles. And we had a bowl of them because they kind of look like parasites. And so I had a bowl of them there. And I was like, and this is what parasites look like. And one of the little boys was like, is that real? And I'm like, no. And then we were picking them up out of the bowl. You know, so it was fun to teach them. My homeschool group that I lead is all natural healthcare based and all science based. And so we teach on everything from, you know, how the heart works to feet, to the brain, to parasites and so on. So it's really fun. But yeah, I was handing the Calm AF strips to the moms. The moms needed some of this.
The moms need to calm down. Isn't that the truth?
So now that you find this out, this muscle testing doctor on stage in front of everybody finds out all your symptoms, starts asking you your symptoms, and you're like, yes. Yep. So where did it go from there?
So I actually teared up. You know, I finally felt validated that there was a reason why my hair was falling out. Actually, my personal trainer thought I was lying to him because I kept gaining weight. He's like, you should be losing weight and you're gaining weight. Are you lying to me? Are you eating ice cream in your closet? And I'm like, I promise I'm not. Because he didn't understand that if this is mercury, if this is a heavy metal or a chemical, the body puts that in fat tissue. So you could run, you can work out, you can do CrossFit, you can do really intense exercise. Like I was playing soccer, you know, on the field 90 minutes and working out in the gym, and I just kept getting fatter. And so it validated the findings that she found, validated the reason why I had the dizziness, the reason why my hair was falling out, the reason why I had skip periods, the reason why all these things were occurring. And then just as hard as I studied sports chiropractic, I dove into the holistic nutrition, functional medicine land And that's the primary thing we do in my office, so internationally.
And one thing to understand, and I learned this very early in practice, very, very early. I had a patient come in that came in and she'd gained like 40 pounds in 60 days. And she's like, I'm not doing anything different. I just gained the weight. I can't lose the weight. And then I had this personal trainer come in who was the personal trainer of this lady. She comes in later and goes, I put on 40 pounds in like the last 45 days and I eat perfect. I'm a single lady who's also a massage therapist, so she's kind of more holistic. She goes, I buy pre-made paleo meals. I eat perfect and I work out 6 days a week. I train people to work out. I know what I'm doing. I put 40 pounds on. And it was then, and then my wife had the same, it just happened to be all at the same time, had a similar thing. And I was sitting there, and I'm glad, and I would have never figured this out had my wife not been one of the three in here. And baby, I love you. You're going to listen to this episode, I'm sure, at some point. But she really was the crux of why I was able to help so many of these women. And I thought, what the heck is going on? This is the weirdest thing. Why are you gaining weight when you're working out and eating perfectly? And then I started thinking, I'm like, well, what has changed in my wife's life? Like, what has she done different? I'm like, she's done nothing different. The only thing different she did is she got the IUD. She got the moringa. And then I was like, oh my gosh, maybe that's it. Picked up the phone, called, hey, do you have an IUD? Yes. What type? Moringa. Called the other one. Do you have an IUD? And 100% of women that come in my office that had an IUD, what it did, and I'm not just putting it on the IUD. What I'm saying is it screwed up their hormones. So if your hormones are dysregulated, this is the unfair part about men and women. If men get low testosterone, yeah, okay, maybe we can't lose weight as quickly and we don't have the energy, but you're not just going to pile weight on. But with women, you can do everything right. You can eat right. You can exercise every day. And if your hormones are out of whack, you can gain weight, which sounds like it shouldn't even be possible, but it's very possible. And that's when I learned really early on in practice. Probably, honestly, it was probably the first 3 months of practicing functional medicine that I learned this, which was great because I ended up going into becoming a thyroid specialist. But it really helped me understand, man, if a woman's hormones are not, if they're out of balance, it doesn't matter what they do. It does not matter what you do. You can just start putting weight on, which seems so crazy, but that's exactly what happens. So I'm sure there's plenty of women on this that are listening to this episode that have experienced exactly this. I do work out. I do eat relatively healthy. Maybe I'm not perfect, but I eat healthy and I work out. So I shouldn't be gaining weight. If anything, I would stay the same or lose weight. But if you're gaining weight, that is a telltale sign that your hormones are out of whack. Now, why those hormones are out of whack could be a number of things. And that's why it's important. What I always stress is important to find a functional medicine doctor in your area or online or that specializes in hormones, because it could be your thyroid. I mean, it could be something as simple as gut issues. I mean, it could be your pituitary. It could be toxicity. There's a number of things, but it's a hormone issue. And now you need to find out why is it a hormone issue? What's causing those hormones to be out of whack? Because it does not make sense. Like, that does not make sense at all, right? So when you figured that out, now you're in functional medicine. I'm assuming you are, these women and these moms are not a waste of your time, right? Like, right. Like, as before. So now I'm sure you have a huge practice. I already know Lisa has a really big practice in Florida. She treats a lot of people, but I'm assuming now you treat a lot of women. So this is a podcast that's really geared towards women. So what are some of we can talk a lot about a lot of different things, but it seemed like in my practice, there would be during certain times, there'd be almost like a wave of things that women after women after women comes in my office and why am I right now during this time seeing the same thing over and over, which I haven't normally seen. So is there anything that like currently in practice that you're starting to see creep in a lot more, becoming more common, and what the cause of that thing and what it is, what the symptoms look like, and what some of those causes are that you could share?
Yeah. I mean, so we just, on Wednesdays we have multiple practitioners. We see about 400 patient visits a week. not only in Central Florida, but we do telehealth. So we have patients in Denmark and Spain and Italy and Australia and New York and California and all over the place.
She's a big deal.
How do they find you?
And we just had a meeting about, we have a practitioner meeting, kind of like a clinical rounds, and we discuss cases. And the number one thing we're seeing is actually one of the reasons why I teach other practitioners how to do what we do and get the results, because it absolutely breaks my heart. We're seeing a lot of kids with high toxicity levels and completely damaged guts that are becoming suicidal. They're becoming depressed. They're becoming high anxiety and non-functional. And many of these children are on ASD. They're on the autism spectrum disorder. They're on the spectrum to the point where very soon, some of the numbers say in 2030, 1 in 2 children will be autistic. And I don't know how our society functions with children that are that will become young adults, will become adults in the future that are unable to provide for themselves, live by themselves. It is saddening. That is the number one thing that we're seeing is unfortunately damaged kids.
And what are you? I'm assuming you're treating them. And so,
Yeah.
what are some of the things that you're seeing? Because for people to understand that these damaged guts and whenever anybody has, I'm going to tell you first of all, the gut controls a lot of things. One, the majority of your immune cells are in the gut, so your gut controls the vast majority of your immune system. It controls pretty much all the inflammation in the body. 98% of serotonin is created in the gut before it crosses the blood-brain barrier, dopamine. So you have neurotransmitters. So if somebody has anxiety and depression, one of the first things I do as a practitioner is I look at the gut, because that is one of the biggest culprits. Because here in the United States, because of our food, because of antibiotics, and like I've said before, I'm not anti-medicine, I'm not anti-antibiotics. I'm just not a fan of how, and then that's probably one of the biggest culprits is antibiotics in young kids. Because what it does is antibiotics, when you take it, it's indiscriminate between good and bad bacteria. It just kills all the bacteria. Well, research has shown that it can take up to 2 years to regrow the bacteria in your gut. And then it's left up to whatever environment you give it to. And with the American diet and all the chemicals and all the crap, honestly, that we eat here, you're almost guaranteed to have what's called dysbiosis, which is an inverse relationship between bad. You should have more good to bad bacteria, but now you have more bad to good bacteria. This is the one thing where medical doctors fail, in my opinion, not in my opinion, I'll state this as a fact. They will tell you to take an antibiotic for 10 days and then they'll kill the infection. And it usually does. The part that they fail in is then they don't tell the patient, when you're done with that round, you need to go on a serious rounds of pre and probiotics to help rebuild that microbiome, because we're killing all the good and bad bacteria. And we don't want to just leave it up to random chance to how it regrows. We want to influence that. So once you're done with a round of antibiotics, you need to go on a heavy round of pre and probiotics so that we can rebuild that healthy microbiome. Because if you don't have the healthy microbiome, and you see this a lot in autism spectrum disorder, ADD, ADHD, in other anxiety, depression, there's a huge correlation between the gut microbiome and all of those disorders. And there's research after research. So once again, if I'm triggering you on this, go look at the research. It's out there. This is not just gospel according to Dr. Watts. I'm telling you about, this is the research that's showing it, because we know that it controls your mood, and we know that it controls your immune system. It controls all these things. And that's why the gut's called the second brain. So other things that can influence that as well is our toxins, mold, heavy metals, parasites. Those can also influence the microbiome and the function of the gut. So with these patients that you're seeing, especially with the autism spectrum disorder, or even, I'm assuming you're even seeing some on because there's a lot more we're starting to see on, not necessarily full-blown autistic, but more, what am I thinking? Why am I drawing a blank? Asperger's. Panda, or, there's a long different shade of Asperger's as well.
Mental health. Yeah.
Mental health in general. So what are you seeing in a lot of these patients that's causing this gut dysfunction, and what are you doing to help these patients?
Yeah, high toxic loads, so toxins in the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, but also toxins that they've been exposed to through injections, right? Those kinds of toxins as well. And so the super, super high toxic load, unfortunately, some of that does come from mama. And as a mom, it makes me feel bad that I could have transferred some of my toxins to my daughter. But it does happen. And I'm not saying that to make any moms feel guilty, because there's no mom guilt here. However, high toxic loads can cause all these destruction of the gut microbiome. And then, the child is anxious, can't sit still, can't function, and starts to have neurological tics or neurological problems. And so not just doing a random detox, because the other problem is a lot of the detox pathways are clogged. The kid doesn't poop. The kid has pimples or eczema or rashes. And so some moms wanting to learn, they'll be scrolling on Facebook and want to do a detox, which is great. However, if the child is not ready for a detox, it makes the condition worse. And so we look to see how, is the liver functioning properly? Are they having daily bowel movements? Are they drinking enough water? Are they eating real foods instead of a whole bunch of processed foods? And so on. And we hold mama's hand so she can help her baby heal. And then usually it's the baby we take care of first. And then mama says, hey, I need help too.
So have you, because I'm always, I love stories. I love to hear the stories. Do you have any examples of somebody, a patient that's come in and that has been kind of on the spectrum or whatever?
We'll call him Bobby to protect his
right.
Patient information. So Bobby came to me. He was 13 years old. I knew the minute that Bobby came into the office because I could hear him screaming. He was screaming, he was moaning, he was rocking, definitely on the autism spectrum. When he came into my treatment room, he did not want me to get within 6 feet of him. He was afraid, he was flapping his arms, he was screaming. And through the nutrition work that we do, the quantum nutrition testing, which is a holistic way of applying nutrition to the body. And by nutrition, I don't mean like eat this, don't eat that. I mean more from a functional medicine standpoint as far as what's balanced in the body and what's not balanced in the body. And his toxicity levels were super, super high. But I had to also open up his detox pathways. He wasn't going to the bathroom. He had eczema. He had constant coughs and congestion. And behaviorally, he would get so frustrated that he would bite his mom. And his mom actually had teeth marks on her chest from a scar from him biting her. He was destructive. He was ripping the toilet paper holder out of the wall. He would break mirrors. He would break cell phones, iPads. And my concern was at the time he was only 13. And I told his mom, I said, look, when he's 18 and he's having these kind of behaviors as an 18-year-old with an 18-year-old big man body, they're going to want to put him in a psychiatric facility. And so we need to work on this now. And so now Bobby comes up to me and gives me big, huge hugs, whereas before I couldn't even get within 6 feet of him. He loves chiropractic. He jumps on the table for chiropractic adjustments, even though before I couldn't even touch him. He speaks in full sentences. He speaks in present tense. He speaks in future tense. He is no longer violent. He doesn't bite his mom anymore. He doesn't destroy things anymore. He's able to go to, I think he just went to theater camp this summer and was able to be part of a Shrek production. And he got to be one of the actors in the play Shrek. And he's doing super, super good to the point where his mom may be able to get a job at a local grocery store, or he may be able to get a job doing things in society and be able to have more survival. Whereas before I was very, very afraid that he would end up in a facility and they would just keep him medicated and tranquilized, and that would be a horrible existence.
I have a number of friends that treat patients with PANS, PANDA, treat spectrum disorder, some of these things. Like one of my good friends, Dr. Javen Moore as well, out of Kansas City. And it's so fascinating because I wasn't in this space. Like this isn't I was really more with women and thyroid. But it's fascinating to hear these stories because a lot of these moms, they've been searching for doctors, searching for help for their kids. And when they finally find a doctor like Dr. Lisa Palmer or one of her doctors at her clinic or some of these other docs that do this in the functional medicine realm, it's a life-changing. I mean, we all love our kids, and it's heartbreaking to sit there and watch and feel helpless that you can't help your kid. I've been blessed to have healthy children, but I'm very empathetic to it. And I couldn't even imagine. I just think about even my own kid. If I lost a kid, or if I had to deal with some major health struggle with my kid, how much that would crush me. I've watched people that have gone through stuff like that, and just thinking about it crushes me, and I'm not even the one going through it, And so I love to hear these kind of stories, because what it does is it brings hope to mothers that do have children like this, that are going through some stuff, that there are doctors out there that can help. And I'm not saying that they're going to completely reverse your child's symptoms and they're going to be 100%. Like, there's so many different colors in that spectrum of where somebody's at. But one thing I do know, and I've seen over and over and over when you get with one of these doctors, is that you can definitely at least dampen it down, and where they can live a very productive life and a happy life, and which is just life-changing for these parents.
And then help the moms, whether the child is on the spectrum or not. These moms are so stressed out and so exhausted and just kind of living on caffeine fumes. And so helping mamas with PMS or hot flashes without bioidentical hormones, helping rebalance the body naturally. And so they can have energy again. They can, feel good again. They don't have to be PMS monsters or menopausal monsters. They can balance their systems, working on whether it's chemicals, metals, whatever it is, balance them out naturally and regain their vitality.
And is that primarily a nutrition approach?
Yeah, the technology that we apply in the office is called quantum nutrition testing. And I founded it during the pandemic when my father was hospitalized. He had fallen and hit his head. And that was an awful time during the pandemic where there was no visitation. Yeah. So the ability to assess and figure out what is occurring and able to apply, do we need to do a detox? Do we need to rework the microbiome? Do we need to rework the little energy centers of the cell called mitochondria so the mom is not so exhausted? What really is the cause? Handle it all naturally. And then these moms are like different people. They go from scary mommy to, oh, there's the woman I married, or there's the mom that's happy and has patience with her kids and isn't screaming and yelling and being frustrated and exhausted all the time.
So we're coming here towards the end. How do people find you on Instagram, or if, do you have a website, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So if you're listening to this podcast and it resonates with you and you need help, I'd love to have myself or my team help you at palmernaturalhealth.com. You can check us out. It's also Palmer Natural Health on Facebook. We do weekly lives where we talk about different things like mold or female hormones or whatever the case may be. Myself and my team can help you if you're here in Florida, or can help you on the phone via telehealth if you're outside of Florida, and figure out the causes. If you're having symptoms, there is a cause, and then there are natural solutions, which doesn't mean you eat twigs and berries. There's natural solutions to figuring out what is the exact cause, what needs to be done about it, and helping the body heal naturally.
Awesome. You got any questions there, Heidi? Heidi usually has questions. She's just sitting here, like, when she's quiet, she's usually taking a lot in. So,
well, and I think that you touched on a lot of things, and I think nutrition is something that is really overwhelming. We've already covered that I'm probably a super overwhelmed mom. And I've taken, I take the shortcut a lot of the times. And in the last 4 or 5 years, the change from really trying to not be a fast food consumer or trying to prioritize protein, trying to make sure that I'm getting vegetables in at least multiple times a day. And it's not easy. And I think we talk about this often on this podcast, is that I lost a son to suicide 10 years ago. And he was 16. And people will say to me all the time, you know, what do you think it was? And that was a hard thing. Because with suicide, like, it leaves a bunch of questions. And, you know, I would lay in my bed at night and think, what was it? And was it this? And was it this? And was it this? And this happened about 10 years ago. And it was at a time that we weren't really talking about suicide in our communities or in our schools. It was happening, but it was hush. People didn't talk about it. And depression, anxiety was being talked about. And so it was getting to be really common and acceptable to talk about being on antidepressants or anti-anxiety. Going to a counselor, like, that was all acceptable. But we weren't really talking about, I mean, I would hear things like, oh, it's in the gut. And I'd just be like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to address that, because I didn't know what that meant. Don't tell me the gut is the second brain. I don't know what that means. You know, like, but I was also running a business. I had 5 kids. I was not in a position, like, I wasn't in a position to be, Dr. Watts calls it the CEO of the family, as the CEO of everything. Like, I wasn't in a position. I wanted to go to somebody and I wanted to have them solve my problem. And then give me a pill and then I'm going to leave because I haven't got time for, you know, that. You know, you said something like, and I'm sorry, I haven't.
Do not apologize.
I haven't even cried. You know, you say something like, it's not your.
I'm sorry to hear that, Heidi. I can't even imagine what that was like to go through. My mother was suicidal. My mother was on antidepressants for 40 years. She was put on the antidepressant Effexor after the birth of my sister. You know, she was diagnosed with postpartum depression, which we now know, of course, after having kids, the hormones get imbalanced. Mm-hmm. Also, she had a double C-section, which that scar line can contribute to depression because scars on the surface of the skin can irritate the electrical systems of the body. And yeah, it sucked. You know, she told my father she wanted to throw herself off from Miami, we have the above ground subway. So throw herself off Metro Rail, and she was institutionalized multiple times when I was a kid. You know, I would go visit her at the mental hospital and see her out of her mind. They had her high on, I don't even know what. And unfortunately, the doctors, all they knew to do was to give her antidepressants, and the side effect of the antidepressants was suicide. Mm-hmm. And thank goodness I was able to help wean her off that antidepressant, but it took me 10 years. And so you're right. People don't talk about this subject. It is a very difficult subject. And the tools as far as helping people with what's going on, this mental health problem, it's not out there. It's more so see the psychiatrist, get the antidepressant, side effects, depression of the antidepressant, and then people are taking their lives.
I think that, you know, as a mom, now, 10 years later, and I'm slowing enough to say, okay, this and this isn't working, or I've dug into it enough. I've done the talk therapy stuff. You do all of this work. But the nutrition, and the fuel and understanding the gut microbiome, understanding what's happening in your body, understanding the role that sleep plays, understanding the role that a cell phone plays. And the problem is that when you're a mom in crisis, because you're only as happy as your most unhappy child, and you don't know where to turn, and a doctor saying, this is the best that I can give you is to give you this medicine, and maybe you don't have insurance, you don't have money to pay for this, maybe you're working multiple jobs, like feels really stacked against you, right? And that's why I want to have these conversations. These are hard conversations. And I'm sensitive to all of the challenges. And sometimes when we present a solution that feels like it is literally like this big of a solution, it starts to make you feel a little freaked out. And my whole motto is don't freak out. But the reason why I have the motto don't freak out is because I am a freaker outer, right? I love that you have a team of people who are willing to address this, and that you are a team of people who are willing to start where that person is and say, we're going to work through this with you. I think what I want to say to moms that are out there, whether it's you as a mom who feels like you don't want to be alive anymore because all of the things are redlining in your brain, when we talk about the symptoms that may or may not be associated with menopause, that may or may not be associated with you don't know what, but you don't feel great. And I'm telling you that at every stage in your life, at every age in your life, you're allowed to be healthy. You're supposed to be healthy. You're supposed to feel great. And if you don't, this is my invitation to find out why. And I don't know if it's parasite or if it's a mold or if it's the stack this long of what it could be. I think that what I'm saying is don't just gut it out. Look for help. Be curious. And I know that it's freaking hard. And I think that's where my tears are from. My tears are from that it's taking me 10 years to say, okay, explain the microbiome to me. Explain it to me. Because I didn't want to slow down enough to have to learn because it seemed too much.
Well, Heidi, you bring up a good point. Like I'm a doctor. Vohn is a doctor. We spent decades learning. We're still learning. We're still learning every day. And it shouldn't be the mom that has to do the research that the doctors should know, right? And really, the solution should be a natural-based solution with no side effects. And unfortunately, in our society, with big pharma making so much money, keeping people sick, that's the situation that we're in. And so if I needed help with what you're professional at, I would ask you, right? Like, I don't know how to do all the cool things. Like when you mentioned scrapbooks, I'm like, I think scrapbooks are so cool. And I really admire people that can put all that stuff together, but I don't even know where to start. I would have pictures everywhere. And when you mentioned stamping, I'm like, your listeners, they know how to stamp, they know how to scrapbook. They probably have like,
it's a complete disaster. Just so you know, the craft is a disaster. It's fine.
Organized chaos.
But I wouldn't even know. I go into Hobby Lobby, which I could be there for hours and be like, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. But not even know where to start. And that's what you're really, really good at. And so if somebody's there and they're listening to this podcast and they're like, well, I need help. My son is sad or anxious, or I have horrible hot flashes where I'm going to sweat through my clothes or whatever it is, reach out to a practice like mine, reach out to some of our colleagues' practices, and get help from an expert that has spent their whole entire career studying this. I don't think the mom should have to study and sit there and go through microbiome textbooks and, Google this and Google that, although a lot of moms end up asking Dr. Google because they're looking for answers.
Well, and don't feel that way, Heidi, because I could bring 20 doctors in this room right now and ask them to explain the microbiome, and 15 of them couldn't, not other than say it's good bacteria in the gut, like to really explain it, because they're just not, it's not trained a lot. And so, and also, we try to bring some of these docs like Dr. Lisa on, not in a way to like freak people out about different things, but it's just to honestly to give hope, because I know there's people that are listening to this that have probably been searching for a doctor like Dr. Lisa that could help them. And they've been to all these doctors because of whatever type of issue they're dealing with or one of their kids is dealing with. And that's why I got into functional medicine, and I knew that getting into functional medicine, I was always going to be the last resort doctor. I was never going to be the first option. And I love it though. I love being the last resort doctor because I got into the business to help people. And being the last resort doctor, that's the people that come in that like they almost have no hope left because they've gone to so many different doctors. No one's been able to help them. So when you have someone like that come in and then you are able to help them, there's nothing more rewarding as a doctor. Think about how amazing the mom feels or the patient feels. I'll tell you right now, I will rival how great you feel to how great I feel that I'm able to see somebody who came in my office months ago with virtually no hope left, to see their life completely change. And that right there just makes every second of every day of being in this office worthwhile. And so I just wanted people to know that if you're dealing with something, when your kids are dealing with something that you have not been able to get help for, I promise you there is a doctor out there that can help you. You just may not have been introduced to that doctor yet. And so maybe a lot of people on here don't need Dr. Lisa because they don't have things, but there are people on here that have been searching for help for themselves or for their children. And as a mother, moms can do a good job at placing a lot of guilt on themselves and feeling bad because they haven't been able to find that solution for their kid. But at the end of the day is you have to know every mother is trying to do the best thing for their child. And when you know better, you do better. But when you don't know, you don't know. And so you can't take that onto yourself and absorb that like it's your fault, because at the moment, everything that you know, you're trying. Just unfortunately, when you have a child that is going through some really difficult things, your education goes from A to Z over the number of years, because as a mom now you're searching for solutions, and so you're learning new things that you didn't know before. And sometimes like, oh, I wish I would have been doing this with my kids. Like, well, but you can't say that because you didn't know. Now you know. So doing it now, yeah, that's great, but don't put that on yourself. Just know that, of course, you're a mom. You want the best for your child, and so when you know better, you do better. And there is a doctor out there for you. And Dr. Lisa is one of these types of doctors that is out there that can help to provide solutions for you. And we are so glad that you were able to come on today. If there's only one person that's listening to this episode that reaches out to you and is able to have a transformation in themselves or their kid, this entire episode was worth it. And, because sometimes it's just that one person, and that's okay. Because there's that domino effect as well, because if you change that one life, how many lives is that one life going to change down the road? So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Watts. Thank you, Heidi, for having me. And yeah, if you're out there and this story resonates with you and you want help, myself and my team would love to help you. There is always hope, and there is always a cause.
And I love that so much. So thank you for listening. I think that when you feel like there's no solutions, that doesn't mean that there's no solutions. It just means that there's not a solution that you have yet. And so Thank you for listening. And thank you for wanting to find those shifts and to understand more and to be open enough to consider the many possibilities and many solutions that do exist. And I'm thankful for that. And I'm thankful for you, Dr. Lisa, for sharing with us. So until next time, we'll see you later on the shift.